Welcome to another Permagrow video. This one is about my arch enemy, the black fungus gnat. I watched about 700 YouTube videos on the topic, and they all provide basically the same advice to use yellow sticky traps and BTI and Diatomaceous Earth. I do use those same practices, but I also have some additional insights that you might find interesting. So I hope you can stay tuned to the end. This is a fairly long video. First off, everybody recommends the use of these yellow sticky traps. On the yellow sticky traps, I use these butterfly shaped ones, but I cut off all the extra yellow part so they don't have any non-sticky place to sit. Being an engineer, I've noticed that I have a 29% less chance of the fungus gnats escaping, and then I poke a hole in with my handy leather punch. When one of my sticky traps is kind of spent, there's not a lot of observable yellow place to attract them to sit. I'll go ahead and swap it out. This one looks like it's close. I could probably leave that up for a while longer, but just for demo purposes, I'll swap it out. Anyway, you just put the S hook through there and then rehang it. So I hang all my sticky traps from the shelf so I don't have yellow sticky traps stuck to my arm. And I hope you all buy, if even a fraction of my viewers buy all the yellow sticky traps using my Amazon link, then I'll be immensely wealthy. With my planters, again, I don't like to put the yellow sticky traps in the dirt, so I use a trick to just hang them from the light there. The other most important thing you do is try to get them in the soil, and everybody recommends using these Mosquito Bits, and I notice they say controls fungus gnat larva. It doesn't say eliminates. So I think that's an important distinction, but I do use them, or I use the mosquito dunks. When you're using your BTI pellets, I like to use these stainless steel tea strainers. This one's ready to change. I just pulled it out of the water tank. But you can see I fill these about half full, but the BTI pellets swell really bad when you put them in there. So don't fill these tea strainers too full, or you'll have a hard time getting them out. But I do compost it. I did check, and they are safe to compost. And so I actually mix those spent BTI pellets in with old compost, and I put a small handful in the bottom of my planter when I'm planting. And my hope is that eventually those will establish a naturally occurring population of the BTI bacteria and kind of help me manage my fungus gnat situation without having to keep buying the BTI pellets, because they are kind of expensive. So when I love these things because you can just wash them out and reuse them, but I have another clean one here. I buy them in different sizes. This is a smaller one. If I'm using this size, I usually put 2 in there. So I'll fill up 2 of those with the BTI pellets and then put them back in the water tank. That's about as much as you want to put in there. You can see how small they are compared to the ones I just emptied out of that other strainer. Anyway, this is the BTI product. I also use the round mosquito dunks that float. They only fit in the large container, but I love these containers. They really are high quality, and they work really well. These containers also come with these little stainless steel trays that you're supposed to use to put your strainer on after you take it out of your tea to drain. But I love them. I use them all the time for when I'm planting seeds, I pour my seeds in there, and it makes it really easy to pick them out and plant them. So since I don't use them for tea, I do use them for my seed planting. Anyway, that's all there is to these. You put the lids back on and then hang those in your water tank. This is my stainless steel water jug that I use. I love this thing. It's about 2.5 gallons, I think. If you do order one of these, you should note that the thing ships with a paper that has links to additional products, and one of the links is for a ceramic lid. And I ordered that lid and it doesn't fit. So I found a different lid that does fit. So I can put a link to the proper size lid in the description if you want to use that. But you just take those BTI tea strainers and just hang them in the tank there. And when you're watering, I always fill my water tank. After I finish watering, I refill it so that the chlorine has a chance to dissipate. I've noticed that watering with chlorine is really bad. I think it kills my soil biology, and I have not as good results with my plants if I'm using chlorinated water to water them. But anyway, so I fill this the night before. I hang those BTI tablets in there about once a week. And I also will fertilize in there. So if I'm going to fertilize with elm dirt, for example, I'll just pour the recommended amount into the tank, and then when I water, I'm fertilizing as well. One thing I've noticed about black fungus gnats is they prefer to crawl around in the dirt and mate instead of sitting someplace yellow and sticky to die. So I think we could learn a lot from the black fungus gnat, but I do notice that anything yellow they're attracted to. So I used to use these yellow microfiber towels for all my cleanup, and now I'm trying to eliminate those from my practice because I find the yellow black fungus gnats sitting on those all the time, and so now I'm switching to blue, and they don't seem to like blue, so I think it's a better choice. But anyway, this mint I've noticed has had quite a few black fungus gnats in it. I don't use Diatomaceous Earth in like all the planters. Most of them I don't really see any fungus gnats crawling around in, but if I do see a planter that has quite a bit, then I'll go ahead and do a Diatomaceous Earth treatment. And the way that works, I use this Harris Diatomaceous Earth. It's food grade. It's made from ground up seashells, so it's totally safe to use in your plants. But it's kind of a pain to use. I don't really do it that often. So to do a Diatomaceous Earth treatment, you just kind of liberally get it all over the surface of the soil, and then you just kind of stir it in with a stick. I use these bamboo skewers all the time, but you can see I don't know if you can see if it shows up, but there's some black fungus gnats flying out of there right now. After you stir it in pretty good, I will go ahead and squirt maybe just a little bit more on there because you want to mix it in with the top inch or so of the soil. Also kind of stir that one around. But then Diatomaceous Earth will only work if the soil is dry. And so you can see this soil is pretty dry. If it gets wet, it doesn't have the same function anymore. So what you do is after you've done a Diatomaceous Earth treatment, when you water your plant, you have to water below the surface. So I use these little glass funnels, and I love this little soil tester. It's probably my most used tool that I buy, but it has a little moisture sensor. So if I stick it in there, and this one is moist, it doesn't really need a lot of water. It's 45%, but if I was going to water it, I'll go ahead and water it just as a demo. I'll test the water, and stick that in there, and then I just push the funnel down in there, and then I water below the surface so that I can keep that diatomaceous earth dry. So I'll lift that up and just kind of let that go in there. And I usually do it in a couple of spots just to make sure I'm getting my water distributed. But I put a piece of blue tape around my funnel so I don't water too deep. That's probably more than enough water since it didn't really need that much. And that's all there is to it. The last thing I want to cover about black fungus gnats is I do use this trap from Katchy. It has a UV light that attracts them and then a fan that blows them down into the bottom, and there's a sticky trap in there. And I noticed that I think this really only works at night. And I think that's really good because after the lights go off during the day, this UV light and this Katchy trap is still on. And so I think a lot of the ones that are still flying at the end of the day are attracted to this Katchy and blown down in there and get stuck in the trap. I actually think I'm going to buy another one of these and have more than one going. See if I can finally catch up with my black fungus gnats. But I think this is a pretty good product. I like it as well. And you'll notice that engineers are so clever. This also has two modes. A standard mode that works in a low setting, which is useless. So I don't understand why engineers think they have to be so clever. Just make the product less expensive and effective. Probably the most important tool that you need in the fight with black fungus gnats is a high quality vacuum cleaner, because if you don't vacuum up all the black fungus gnat carcasses, then you could possibly have your wife evict your entire growing operation from the basement, and we don't want that to happen. If you are the wife, your husband will never notice the black fungus gnat carcasses, and so the vacuum cleaner is totally optional. But I really like this vacuum cleaner. It's got 3 modes of operation, 2 useless modes, which one mode it like barely sucks but lasts a long time, so you can be ineffective for a longer period of time. And then one mode, which is the default mode, which it sucks a little better, and you can do that also ineffective mode for a little bit shorter time. And then it has the final mode, which I use, which is the maximum suckitude. And in that mode, you can actually suck things up, but for a very short time because the battery will run dead. I also like this one has a long option, and also it has one of these short things so that you can suck them up from around the furniture. If you're lucky, you can actually effectively suck up some flying ones, and that's very satisfying. There's a bunch of them sitting on the back wall over there, and I'm going to try to get them. Yes, that's very satisfying. You also have to be very careful to go all the way around, like pull your furniture out where your planters are located and get behind there too. That way you will clearly not attract negative attention from your spouse. I also like this vacuum because it has a real easy dump container, and so when this dust collector fills up with black fungus gnat carcasses like once a week or so, it's easy to dump. One final thought on the black fungus gnat. Once you get black fungus gnats, I don't believe that ever will fully eradicate them with any method unless you have like a major house fire. But the question is, how many will you have? And I've noticed that when I get lax and don't really try to work on it very much, or I don't put the BTI in my water, I'll I'll get a significant explosion in the number of black fungus gnats. But when I do kind of keep up with it, it's somewhat manageable. And I do believe that I have to believe, or I like to believe, that maybe they're actually performing a useful service to my soil. So they don't really seem to harm the plants. And so the fact that they're eating fungus in the soil, maybe my soil is too fungally dominated, I don't know. But I kind of believe that nature always tries to find a way to balance itself out. And if I have black fungus gnats, it probably means that I need to work on the quality of my soil. And so I can continue to do that and see if the problem is reduced over time. And similarly, other insects that I have problems with, if it's aphids or other sucking in insects, that's an indicator that I'm probably not feeding my plants well enough and they're weak and they don't have natural defenses. But I do really hate the black fungus gnats, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I wish you the best of luck in your battle against black fungus gnats. Anyway, those are all my insights on the black fungus gnat. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned something. And if you all stayed to the end, I hope you also like and support and subscribe to my channel. And if you can, or if you are interested in trying any of the products I covered, I hope you can use my Amazon affiliate links, and that would really help me out a lot. Thanks again.